Today we're going to take a look at a Christmas snowflake design. First we'll take a look at the approach we're going to take, and it starts out, as we so often do, with some guidelines using dental floss or string. Once we've got those in place, then we're going to start the actual snowflake design. And we're going to do top, bottom, left, and right are going to be the longer versions. We see that here, how it sort of splays out and then comes back in a taper, and then the next four are smaller ones. Then after that, we simply do an outline, but these are going to be our expansion scores, so make sure and connect each one to the next so that it can actually expand out from those elements. And finally, just add a little more decoration. We'll just add some Christmas trees. Now, make sure that that actual center line of the Christmas tree is a very light score, or else you're going to have that look less like a trunk and more like a big oval. So we're going to start by pulling our dough out of the freezer. It's been there for about 20 minutes just to firm up for us. Then we'll go ahead and dust it with rice flour, and this time I'm using only rice flours to give it that nice white effect for the snowflake. Here's the dental floss we talked about, and we'll go ahead and pop our guidelines on there. And then we go ahead and start scoring. So just like we saw in the beginning, we want the lines to grow larger towards the end, and then at the very end, go ahead and taper back in. We're going to do that exact same pattern on 4 of the lines. So think of it as the plus, the top, bottom, left, and right. Go ahead and do as close to what we did before as possible. And then on the remaining 4, we just want them to be a little bit shorter than the initial 4. Gives it a nice little snowflake effect. Now you'll notice that I'm doing the actual side to side, but not scoring that center line of the snowflake. That's intentional because you want to do a nice light score after down the center, as we're seeing here, but not too deep. If you go too deep, it's just going to pull apart there. And then we do our outlines. Now these outlines we want actually to be deeper than I did them here, and you'll see in the finished product how it actually ripped apart the loaf a little bit because I didn't give it a deep enough score that allowed it to expand where it needed to. And then again, we make sure they all connect, all those different lines, so that can be used for expansion. So the final bit is just to make those Christmas tree designs on all those bare pieces of dough around the edges. So since this is a boule, I'm going to use the Dutch oven method, which is nice and easy. We go ahead and preheat the Dutch oven all the way through before we start our scoring, and then right before I start scoring, what I do to make sure that there's no burnt bottom is I take the part of the Dutch oven out that I'm going to be putting the dough onto so that it cools down just a little bit. So it's still nice and preheated, but not enough that it's going to burn your loaf. Of course, one quick picture for Instagram, and then it's time to go ahead and get the top out. Yes, you see that I do need new gloves there. Those are on the way. And then I go ahead and pop the whole apparatus into the oven. Now we'll just take a quick look at it at the midway point and see how it's looking. Here we go, the moment of truth. And it doesn't look too bad, except for those 2 areas that I mentioned did actually break apart because there was a good amount of oven spring, but those scores, the expansion scores around the outside, weren't enough to allow it to expand without ripping apart our pattern. So overall, I think it still looks like a good pattern here. It still is recognizable, I hope, as a snowflake, but hopefully you will do it better. Just make sure and don't make my mistake. Make the scores a little bit deeper on those expansion outline scores, and then you will have a perfect snowflake. If you do use this, please tag me in your post. Check me out over on Instagram on Loaf Hacker and let me know how it went for you. I'd love to check it out. And just to show you the bottom here, again, because we took it out of the oven before we scored, no burnt bottom there. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe, and also visit me on Instagram at loafhacker or Twitter at loaf_hacker. Thank Thanks very much, and I'll see you again soon.